And we just thank you. And today's broadcast is entitled The Blind, Black Leadership Today. Kev and I have been talking about this down through the years off air, and so we said let's go ahead and just see what we come up with. But we actually want y'all to help us out. When I say help us out, I mean give us a call. Let's have some kind of dialogue tonight. We know that you comment, and we love the comments. Don't stop commenting. But give us a call. Let us hear your understanding or your take on this, the blind, black leadership today. I know everyone has a thought about that. The number is 361. For those who always bust my chops, you never say the number till the middle of the show. It's 361-405-6111. Once again, 361-405-6111. And Kev finna set the table, and we're going to jump into this thing. What you got for me, man?
So, this came from our last show. We jumped into a little bit about leadership in the black community, and then he was like, "Hey, let's make it a show." And of course, the blind. We're talking about leadership.
Okay.
And the proverbial blind leading the blind. So,
okay.
And I think we're gonna go a little deeper than just saying, "Oh, it's no leadership" or "it is leadership." Now, a lot of people have a certain feeling about the leadership in the black community, and my thing is, if it wasn't a problem, we wouldn't be talking about it. So me and you have to feel like this is a problem.
Yeah.
So if that's why we're talking about it. So if it is a problem, what is the problem? And then why is it a problem, and how is it a problem is how a logical way to approach it. So I think we're going to cover all of that. And of course, I think some of our viewers may, give their input on what you think about the black leadership, because I think it is leadership.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But it's not leadership from us.
And then we also got to look at what type of leadership. Yeah. So we got to get into, we got to unpack a lot.
All of that down,
and but when you talk about a leader, basically, or leadership, or a group of people that's in a leadership position, we're basically talking about something. It's simple, but it's really profound. We're talking about someone who's guiding someone, someone who's directing someone. So when we talk about that, it seems like, Kev, with the advent of social media, everyone, in a sense, wants to be a leader, because if you got a microphone like us, we have microphones, we can talk. And then some people watch broadcasts, or they listen to people that are in those positions, and then they start the process of saying, well, those guys or those ladies, those are my leaders. And then people want to be like that. So they start, imitating, and they know that when you talk about that ideal of leadership or leader, there's a lot that comes with that. And some of it may be good, some of it may not be so good. You got the prestige, you got the accolades, the fame. Some of it is money driven, but it's more than that. But it's just, that's enticing in many people's eyesight. So it's like, why wouldn't I want to be one if that's what I see when I look at a leader?
Ooh, heavy is the head, man. That wears that crown.
Yeah.
So what would you say your definition of a leader is?
I just gave it. I think it's someone who directs and guides. But what I'm going to talk about more or less, Kev, is what type of leaders. Because you can have a person that's in front of a people who call themselves a leader, or others may call them a leader. But then let's look at what are you leading the people to do? That's what I want to get to.
To simplify what a leader is, because you can have leadership qualities, right? And you don't want to lead anybody to do anything. You don't want to start an organization. You just want to talk. Like you brought up social media. I think social media has changed the game a lot. But I think to be a leader, you could be an idiot and be a leader.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And to be a leader, you just need followers. Someone that's going to follow you, willing to follow your lead. To me, that's the definition, simple definition. Now, you can have, when we talk about leadership qualities, that may be different.
Yeah.
But I think we have a leader in this country now that's a total idiot. It don't take much. But he has their interest. It's a certain faction of people in this country that's following this leader because he speaks to their interest. And how crazy it is, or whatever you want to think, sometimes it's religious cults. They have a leader.
Yeah.
And this person tell them, hey, I'm Jesus Christ and I return. And then people will follow him.
Right.
They'll sip the Kool-Aid like they did with Jim Jones, with that whole thing. But I think to be a leader, you just need followers.
Yeah, and then you also have to look at the leaders are all over. It's not just in a certain parameter or arena. Like you mentioned, in the political world, there's leaders. You look in the religious world, there's leaders. You look at in the entertainment world, in the entertainment field, some people may say, well, I'm not a leader. But when you have followers, like you said, that automatically ushers you into that type of space, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. So no matter how long or how loud I tell you I'm not a leader, but yet I'm saying things and people are following me, then we have to look at what really are you, because you can't be a leader when you say that you're not, but yet you are. I mean, that doesn't make sense. Either you're a leader or you're not. Then what kind of leader are you? You know, what are you teaching? What are you asking people to do? What are you promoting? And so that's what we have to look at, because a lot of us, we look at some of the things we're saying, and, you know, you and I might say, wow, man, well, why would these people want to follow that person?
Right.
Well, because they've fallen in love with something that person has said, or that person may know about the psychology of the mind of the crowd. So that person can say things that kind of draw people in, and before you know it, like you mentioned, they're drinking the Kool-Aid, and then they start defending this person because that's their leader. Then when you say, well, hey, well, your leader said, then they'll say, well, no, that's just not my leader. I follow him. Okay, you're playing with words now. Okay,
then that's why I say I think social media has changed, because on social media you follow people, but you're not actually following them like you did in the old days, because it wasn't social media then. Now, I'm following that person on Instagram or whatever, and all you're doing is just peeking in on what they're saying. That don't necessarily mean that you agree with everything, because it may be people that I follow, and I'm not following them for them to lead me anything. I'm just following their page or whatever. So I think social media has changed things, because it makes it it's cheating, because you could say, well, I'm following Omar Johnson, right, or Dr. Claude Anderson, but then you're not actually following their lead. You're listening to what they have to say, and that's different than following them. Back in the days, you follow what somebody said. You follow Martin Luther King out on the march, and you know, in Selma or whatever. You followed his ways and things like that. That's what following used to mean. Now we could cheat and just say, I'm following them on Instagram.
Yeah,
or
and when
Facebook.
they have something that they do, and they may have an event, and then you go and they tell you what to do. You know,
and that's how it was.
Then you start doing what they said. You know.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing to me is the paradigm in the black community has changed.
Okay.
And what I mean, the paradigm is like the way that you see things and the way you think about things, and as a collective. And I think that either the system has changed our paradigm, because I don't think we're looking for leadership like we used to. We used to have leaders all throughout the history of our stay here in America.
Right.
Even on the plantation, it was someone, the elder person or someone that had been there the longest, and they would follow, you know, they would listen to that person. That person was wise, or whatever credentials they had, they would listen to that person. And whether that person was elected to be a leader or they just was the leader by default, people listened to them and said, hey, if it was someone that was a revolutionary, and if you had that revolutionary type of blood in your body, then you was going to follow that person. And, you know, I think we've always, it used to be either the pastor at the church, black in the black community, he was the leader of the black community a lot of times, or it was the politician that we elected in that area. Either that person was elected and we followed that person's lead, or it could have been an activist. You know, we say, okay, this person's starting, and they had to talk a certain way to engage us and say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to follow this brother, Marcus Garvey or W.E.B. Du Bois or Malcolm X or whoever. They create an organization, Huey P. Newton, then the people like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. And I think that's how we follow people back then.
That's true. And I also think the vision, you know, when we look at the vision of leadership, you know, and this is where we're going to take a deep dive. The vision of leadership has changed tremendously. Now, there are still people who are down for our people. There are still people who are adamant about social change and justice and all of those great ideas for us. But I think the vision has changed to the degree that many leaders today aren't interested in a clear vision. See, they don't want to achieve anything other than maybe their pockets being padded. And then they confuse activity with progress. And then a lot of our leaders, many of them, I'll say, they build followers like you just mentioned, but they don't think about institutions. And so all the stuff you said earlier about these brothers and sisters that came before, and some even today, but far and few between, but a lot of them were institution related. You know, they wanted to look at how we can build institutions to help us as a people, because they understood that when we have institutions, that's great for us. And see, they didn't mistake popularity for leadership. Because see, if I have 100,000 followers and you only have 5 followers, then, you know, my head is big as this room, because I got a lot of people that's following me, and everybody's saying, you know, well, y'all doing this, y'all doing that. And so when I hear that, and then all of a sudden I think whatever I say is gold. But the bottom line is, many leaders today, they don't really have a clear vision, because when you ask them, what's your vision, you can't get anything that's institutional building or anything like that. All you're going to get is, well, follow me, and then this is what I can do. This is what I can do. And so a lot of times that's a mischaracteristic and a misjudgment of what real leadership and true leadership should be, Kev.
Right, yeah. And it's like I think, like I say, the paradigm has changed. Social media has played a part in it, but I think really the system is what played a major part.
Okay.
Because I don't think we look to have leaders. I don't think we want as a group for someone. I don't think. See, we use that as an excuse. We don't have the leadership that we used to have, right? And then what happens is we turn around and we don't want to follow the leaders that we have, because there are leaders out there,
right?
And it's like, okay, why don't you follow this person? You know, this person. I could give a leader like, and this is what I want y'all to do. Tell me of any leaders that y'all could think of. That's in a. Now I'm not talking about of a community. I'm talking about on a national scale.
Gotcha.
Because people can have leaders in their own community, and like you say, it's a plethora of leaders that do this and that and that. But I'm talking about a leader that speaks for the black people, mostly for us. And everybody don't have to follow him.
Right.
But like I named like Omar Johnson or somebody like that. But I think he's turned a lot of us off, as far as some of the things he's into, or some of the things he may say, or some of the things he may have done, and people say, man, I'm not following that guy no more. But does he speak to your interests? Is it, Claude Anderson or Boyce Watkins, Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. Boyce Watkins, whomever you may think of, or like I say, Louis Farrakhan. I think that was to me, that was the last, he's the last national leader that we may have.
I hear you.
That's still here
on that scale.
Yeah, on that scale. Because I went to the Justice or Else. I mean, he brought 1 million people to D.C. And I mean, it was a lot of people there. I missed the first one, the Atonement. But see, he's talking not about his organization or his belief system. He's talking to all of us about us and the things that we need to do to correct ourselves. Some of these people that call themselves leaders, they have an agenda. I'm part of this, or this is my religion, and you think that I have to follow your religion to be part of you.
Right. That's why I like working with you, man. And I've often said this, and I'll say it till I close my eyes. Regardless of what you believe, you're down for the people that look like you, that are being oppressed. You understand history, you understand sociology, the whole gamut. And it doesn't matter what you believe, because you make sure that you apply that on a daily basis. But within that, you insert that into what you talk about. And to me, that's very powerful. And I think even Malcolm said one day, we're not going to meet to talk about religion, because that's going to divide us. Let's talk about the social issues that are plaguing us as a people. And sometimes, you have to, you're not setting it aside because you're living it, but you still have to infuse that in what you're doing to make your society a better place. I want to ask you a quick question, Kel, because this is not a trap question, so don't start pausing and looking over here like, John, don't you set me up here. This is what I wanted to ask you, and it's just kind of think through it here. If an organization has been in a leadership role for a long time, do you think that they should have some type of impact in the community? Now, I know when people first start, or when organizations first start and they're doing things positive, a lot of times we don't get it because it has to come into fruition. But if you've been around for a while, do you think there should be some type of proof where we can say, this organization has led for a long time, and look at what they're doing? Can
leading by example? It should be example.
You would see something going on,
some kind of progress or something. Fruit from the trees that they're talking about.
So here's the follow up. This is not the setup, y'all. So don't say, I got him now. But no, this is what I was leading to. I look at organizations like the NAACP. It's been around for 117 years. We know when the NAACP first came on the scene, it was definitely for our people. We know that. Then it took a turn, as you said. A lot of things have happened. Then we look at the National Urban League. It's been around for 116 years. And then finally, we look at the Congressional Black Caucus has been around for 55 years. So all these years, these places have been around, these organizations. How would you rate them? Just in your own estimation, it's not wrong or right, but just how do you see them since they've been around for a long time, Kel?
I think that organizations like you mentioned, I think they were very necessary. And the difference I think that I can abstract from that is they had a purpose. And I think they served a purpose. The NAACP got legal offered us a legal representation
Right.
for a lot of things that was happening.
Gotcha.
So I think like Rosa Parks, she came from the NAACP. I think that they served a purpose, and I think maybe now because of leadership within their organization.
Okay.
And I think because if I look at the NAACP, I don't know who the leaders or the president or any of that is. So I don't think that they're that type of. I think they're just organizations that came up to represent us at a time, and I think we've kind of ventured away, or maybe they become blind to our issues or what's happening. Because I do think that we call this the blind, and I do think sometimes some of the leadership has become blind to the needs. They don't keep up with the progress of what's happening and our problems and our issues. And I think a lot of people have charged the NAACP with being impaired with that, because people don't even talk about them like that. They had a convention here in San Antonio. I went some years back, maybe like 5 or 6, maybe 7 years ago, and it was a pretty good convention. I had no idea they had it, because we don't talk about the NAACP.
Wow.
Maybe they don't get involved to that point. Like organizations like the Black Panther Party, or things like this. Like, it's a Black Panther Party organization here in the United States still, but we don't get engaged in that. Yeah. We don't know much about it, and so I think that they serve the purpose, just like these movements serve a purpose, but then they have to still be relevant, or we have to make them relevant. There's nothing wrong, because if you look at the Black Panther Party's page and what they're about, that goes in line with a lot of things that people be talking about.
Right.
But we're just out of touch, and it's more, we should be more in touch, because we have the social media, we have the media, period, the internet to engage with them.
We are so excited today about this broadcast, and we want that phone to ring by calling 361-405-6111. I know that you have a take on the blind today that we're talking about, the black leadership today. I know you have some type of insight on that. So we're just asking that you call. We know you're bringing the comments in, but call in and talk to Jah Kev. We want to hear what's on your mind.
Man, we have a lot of comments that came in. I appreciate it. Day Bishop, she said, good evening. Maria Saze, she said, Hotep. She said, there's no audio on YouTube. So I went back to the YouTube when you said that, when I saw that, and I went in and I redid the page. Something happened on that. I don't know, because it started out like we had it when we brought it up at first. Sakina, she said, salams to both of us. It's peace to us. Walaikum assalam, sister. I appreciate that. Harold Barnes, I appreciate you showing up, bro. Fox Tech alum. Vincent Webb, another Fox Tech alum. I appreciate y'all, brother. He said, well, when leaders are the, after money, serving the purpose, the monies will follow. I appreciate that. You want to elaborate on that? What you think?
Well, that's the point. I guess sometimes that it does happen, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
There are a lot of leaders that don't have them, and it's not about the money. And even when I think about Malcolm X and Martin Luther King in that era, many of them, that wasn't their focus. Even today, there are many leaders that are filthy rich. We're all for people that look like us to make money to help the communities and all of that, but that's not the sole purpose. You're not just after the money. And, I go back to the NAACP and these other places. I concur 100% what you said. I couldn't have said it better myself. But I know a lot of times we have this nostalgic mentality. In other words, we think about the NAACP, what happened back in the day, and we equate that with them today. And like you mentioned, it's a different vision today.
Right.
And the times have changed. Racism still exists. Abuse still exists, exploitation still exists, but it's the different era, and I think for whatever reason, wherever it was unplugged, it's not the same the way it did back in the day when all the things that were going on. But back to the brother's comment, I get what he's saying, but that's not the purpose, man.
And the thing is, when you're chasing money, then someone that has the money, they can control you, because they know that's the carrot that they can wave in front of your face. And if it's like, I look at like Stephen A. He's not a leader, but he was a analyst, he a journalist. But then the money became important, so he wanted to not say things that's going to interrupt his money flow, And then when you have so-called leaders that's like that, that's tippy-toeing around money issues, like Vincent said, that's a great thing. You can't have that, because then someone else, you gotta watch what you say. You're gonna lose money, and in this condition that we are in, We can't be tippy-toeing around anything.
No, you can't. And that was one of the signs that we can talk about, even whether later on in the broadcast or even today, if we want to unpack it. That was one of the things that we didn't have to worry about Martin Luther King or Malcolm X trying to get a contract. And I know it's different, or they getting so much money. I think even in the movie with Malcolm, I don't know how true this is, but Malcolm's wife was telling him, hey, these people have all this money and these houses and these cars, and you don't have anything. And Malcolm played that down. He didn't say, well, let me go and talk to him about this, even though it's important.
Yeah,
now,
she was talking about within the nation, right?
Yeah, with the Betty Shabazz, she was telling him that, in other words, his focus wasn't on money, man. That's all I'm trying to say. And I think we do have to get paid. So don't misconstrue what we're saying, but that's not what it's all about. Yeah. Only.
And the thing that I'm glad y'all brought that up, Vince, and I'm glad you and John, you touched on that. Do we ever think about how did W.E.B. Du Bois make his money? How did Marcus Garvey make his money? How did Martin Luther King make his money? How did Malcolm X make his money? Do we ever think about any of this stuff? Now, like some of them, a lot of like W.E.B. Du Bois, he made his money because he was a scholar and he wrote books and he sold his books. Then if he spoke at places or engagements, he got paid for that. That's how he generated his money. He wasn't a rich person. Garvey, he took donations. He created an organization. Sometime when you create an organization, Stokely Carmichael, he was in the Black Panther Party, but he spoke on engagements. And even after the Black Panther Party, he was able to survive, but that wasn't what his purpose was. Yeah. And if you look at King, he was a pastor, so he got money being a pastor, but he also created an organization and he got funded with it, grants and stuff. But this is how they made money. They were not rich.
Right.
So the thing is, like, they had a purpose and a real agenda that was for the people.
Exactly. That was very well said, because they didn't go into this with that idea where I'm going to go to college and get a 4-year degree, then I'm going to come back and then I'm going to bid myself to the highest bidder. Right. Or I'm going to continue to make as much money if I have these different options. Well, this place is going to pay me $75,000. This place is going to pay me $150,000. Well, I'm going to go to 150. Then 3 years from now, I'm going to go to. So it wasn't like that. They like you said, they were more concerned with what was going on with our people, and that's one of the things that the blind today don't seem to understand. It's not that way. It shouldn't be that way, because when you care for people, those are great examples. We never had a conversation about money when it came to Malcolm and Martin, like you said. Yeah. It sounds weird when you said that. I'm thinking like, wow, how did they make their money? Because that wasn't their focus. Yeah, man. Right.
And then, like you say, they wasn't rich. But then, see, that's a slippery slope, because nowadays you have to make money.
Well, you have.
And then today, like, remember last show you was talking about a discussion y'all had, and that it was a doctor present, and everybody he's throwing that degree around. I'm a doctor, and everybody looking at him like, okay, he's the most important person in the room. But he had to dedicate all that to his discipline. And then it's hard for you to be studying like you study and to get your profession in line, and then studying what's happening to our people. So to me, it's hard to do both.
Well, I understand what you're saying. It is. We can't throw the baby out the bathwater, but all I'm saying is, as the brother said, when you do right, you're going to put yourself in a position to make money. But what I'm saying is, when that's all you're in it for, when you have a choice to make $100,000 or even less, even though we know the cost of living today, depending on what you're doing, your profession is, if you don't want to do what you're doing because you're not getting paid, but as much as you can, see, that's what we're talking about. And that's one of the things that leaders today have to realize. It's not about who can make the most money, And I was joking the other time about, not showing up, having contract problems and stuff like that. But that's real. That's real in real life. Some people won't, but they are. Some of these people today have so much money. These leaders, man, they don't have to work another day in their lives.
Exactly. So I'm gonna bring this up. This is us, the blind leading the blind, right? And the blind sometimes is the people that's trying to follow, or the people that's refusing to see what's best for them.
Come on, Kev.
So some of these people, these social media stars.
Okay.
They could be on social media talking about black men not doing this and not doing it. So all the women are ingratiated with what he's saying, and they're tuning in, and all the likes that he gets. This guy, I could talk about Kevin Samuel. Okay. Peace to the dead, but I'm saying he was a millionaire based on talking down on black women. See, we would tune in to stuff like that and that gave him power, that gave him money. Some of these other people that I forgot the dude's name, but he was always talking about black men not treating black women right. You know, Kevin Samuels talking about black women not being right, so the men was following him. Like, yeah, I like that. Put them sisters in their place. Then you got Kevin, the other brother that was always talking about how jacked up black men is, and you know, hey, you should do this, and he's, you know, the women are following him. And he's a millionaire. And I brought this up a long time, but they're millionaires because they got likes and follows. So if you're on there and you're talking about something of substance, you know, that's on us, the people that could go on to those places that's talking something that's for our people, and you could give them all the likes and give them the power, and they're famous. You know, it's like they're famous on social media. They don't need the mainstream media. They could be famous and they can still make their money and still bring us the truth. And
see, I'm talking about some of these leaders that, you know, if you go somewhere and they say, well, Kev, if you were this great leader and you're a millionaire already, okay, and they say, well, can you come and speak? And you say, well, I'm not going to touch the microphone unless I get $50,000. I'm not going to come to that. You know, what they say, well, we can give you 10 or whatever. You say, well, no, because in your mind, you're all that.
Yeah, you're
you really don't need it, though,
your ego is bigger than your purpose. You know, that's what happens. The ego become bigger than their purpose. Because some people should look at it like they should say, okay, I don't want to name any names of anybody out there that's famous, but I'm saying, say if I was somebody famous, well known, and then you say, well, I'm coming to San Antonio to talk, and then you say, well, hey, you reach out and say, brother, I got a school, could you come and talk to the girls to show up? Why would I not? What does it cost to me? I'm not looking, well, you know, your school is not well known, or is the cameras going to be on? You know, that kind of mentality. Then you're worried about yourself, and you instead of doing, because I can make an impact on the people in your school. I should be like, man, this guy is doing this. Why don't I come here? Like, you're not asking me to donate $1,000. You're asking me to show up, and that gives you, you know, your students, know, something to feel good about.
And it goes back to what we talk about when we talk about accountability. And see, some of the leaders today, the blind leaders, don't take accountability for their actions. They can do whatever they want to do. And again, a lot of it is because of us, you know, because we don't require anything of them. Once they make that name and we follow them, whatever they say is gold. We don't even challenge some of the things that they say because we're going on their personality and all of this. They don't like constructive criticism. You know, you told me many times when we've talked on this broadcast, you know, in love, you said, well, Jah, I don't believe that. I think this way. Okay, well, that's constructive. Well, have you thought about this? So it's like leaders have to be able to have criticism, and they can't be angry, and they don't like, some of them don't like to be corrected. Sometimes when I was a young boy, I used to go to certain places, man, especially in these ministries, and if the leader said something and someone disagreed with that leader, man, regardless of what the leader said, and it used to make me want to throw up, you know, because these were independent thinkers, and they would ask the question, then people would tell them, you don't ask that question. You know, and a lot of it was in religious settings where the preacher or the person that's leading, whatever they said, you better not in Bible study and places like that. You can't do that because the people that's there, they're going to turn on you, even though your question could be valid. So this is what I mean by constructive criticism, or saying, well, hey, have you thought of it this way? But because in their mind, they think they know everything, you see. So they feel like they cannot be corrected. Who are you, Kevin, to come to my workshop as an educator, and you're questioning what I'm saying? Who are you? And then everybody that's around says, well, yeah, Jah got a PhD. Who is this guy? See, that's crazy.
Man, it's that's all interesting, man, because to me, if we're talking about leadership, the brothers, they said Al Green, Claude, I guess he's talking about Claude Anderson, Dr. Claude Anderson, Farrakhan, Harold said, and he said, let's talk about land for sure. That's the foundation, was the comment from that. Now, to me, if we're here to talk about land, then why are we talking about religion? You know, if you're going to be a pastor, and you may have some good civil rights or activism in you, like Martin Luther King wasn't always up there. His speeches was not talking about, you know, my Lord and Savior, his religion. And you knew he was a reverend, and that's cool. But he was talking about civil rights bills and voting acts and rights. So that's why he was ingratiating his people, because everybody, you didn't have to be part of the Christian church. You were part of the black community that wanted some of these things he was talking about. Malcolm X wasn't talking about joining a nation or anything like this. He was talking about the problems that hindered us as a people. So that's why, that's what I'm saying. You can't be. So if I'm there and somebody's a leader like that is talking, I don't want to talk about religion with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to be talking religion or your science or whatever. I want to know what's good for us.
Yeah.
What's happening in our community and how we going to fix it.
And I want to add a caveat on the top of that, because when I think about a person that really meant a lot to me was Nat Turner, 1831. You know, he was a preacher. He felt like God had called him, but God called him for a totally different purpose than most people today. 60-something people he knew around, you know, and it's like he wanted liberations because he knew what was going on was wrong. See, that's what leadership is about. It's like taking the yoke that's on us, taking it off of us by any means necessary, and it ended up costing him his life, but he did that because he felt a conviction that this is what he was called to do, not to stand up and try to debate with you whether Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were real people or not.
Yeah. Now he took an act, and I don't see Nat as a leader. I could see people saying, I have that mentality and stuff. That he tried to lead some of those people out of bondage or whatever the bondage was. To me, and this is the thing of what I was saying in the beginning, I think they changed the paradigm in our culture, in our community.
Okay.
Because what we do now is I don't want to say cannibalize, but it's called internalized in-group biasness, which is in colloquial terms is saying self-hate. And this is what I'm saying. And the reason that now hate sounds like it's a hard word for somebody, because you can say, well, I don't hate myself, I don't hate. But what it is, you don't look, if a black leader is in our community, someone rises up, what we like to do is scrutinize them. And we come up with reasons of why we're not actually getting behind them. You can follow them on social media. Like I say, that's the easy way out.
Right.
But I'm talking about when this brother or this sister is sitting out there talking about we need to do this and we need to boycott this, and boycott, we act like that's like such a bad, if we talking about boycotting something that I like. Oh man. So then it's like you don't really want to follow that person. You don't want to follow that person's lead. So what you do, you come up with a reason of why I don't follow this particular person. Well, Farrakhan, yeah, he's in the nation, but he's not asking you to be in the nation.
Exactly.
You know, he's asking you to boycott Black Friday. He's asking men to clean up their act, atone for their actions that they're playing a part in. We know that somebody else is making us do these things, but stop doing all these things that's tearing down our neighborhood.
You're trying to what they're trying to do is what is called absquatulate, which means you're trying to run from responsibility, you see. And what that also means is we talk about unity all the time, but then when there's an opportunity for us to display unity, like you just mentioned, we find some kind of petty excuse so that we will not become involved in that which is detriment to us and our children. And that's a psychological damage that has continued to ravage the African American community, because we still do it today. Right. And you face it, I face it, and it's like we're going to keep going, of course. But when we talk about leaders, we have to want to make a difference instead of wanting to just be seen, Kev. Because, sometimes we want to be seen. And again, if we don't get the spotlight on us, when we get and I notice the dynamic sometimes when we get together, when I say we, as whenever there's something going on and we have a lot of people, and you just kind of look at the dynamics, you look at those people who are quote unquote considered as leaders, or they may have something, they may have a podcast, they may have a broadcast, they may be in a band, they may be a social activist, but you watch them, man. And Farrakhan did it perfectly one day to show us how to do it, where they invited him to a great function and they didn't ask him to speak. And everybody was raving about, you had Minister Farrakhan there and he didn't even speak. But when he got a chance to speak, he didn't speak then. He said that that's not what he was there for. Right. You see, but see, with us, if you send me, if I go to a function and I'm not able to grace the mic, I got an attitude. What's wrong, John? Nothing. But what's really wrong with me is I'm angry because I didn't get a chance to say something to these fans that I'm thinking that's loving me. So these are the things. Oh, I'm getting excited here. These are the things that we have to look at, Kevin.
Yeah, we seeking a spotlight. Yeah. Like sometimes people be running for some district 2 or some office. Then they always got the camera on when they go in, because now you want to feed the homeless and stuff like that. Yeah. But you do that on the norm. Right. And I'm saying and I don't have a problem with people filming stuff like that, because to me, if I see you doing it, I'm gonna think, well, why can't I do it? That's what a brother told me that was going out on his own doing it, because people say, why they always got the camera on? How would you like somebody to have a camera on you if you homeless or something. Well, you know what? I don't think they got a bunch of friends or they on social media they care about. They weren't worried about their meal. But what he was telling me, he said, man, because if I do it, then what's stopping you from doing it? If you don't know I'm doing it, then you'll never know that, I never know that you're doing it, and you can't pose that question to yourself. So sometimes people just, and that's the only time you see them feeding the poor is when the camera's on, is because they're running for office. And then, okay, I lost, and you know what? I ain't out there no more. But if that was really your intent and your agenda, you'll be out there regardless.
I want to say this too, and I want to look at this from the standpoint of let's look into sometimes we confuse with people that call themselves leaders, or they are leaders in whatever regard, but we confuse representation with liberation. In other words, I can stand up all day and all night and I can holler black power, I can holler power to the people, I can talk about all these grandiose ideas that makes you feel good. But in actuality, there's no such thing as liberation. These are just words that I'm using because I don't know how to challenge you to get liberation, to liberate yourself, to be independent, to understand the ideal of what it means when we say we should be liberated mentally, psychologically, socially, and all these things that we always say. But it's crazy that we as a people, that we allow blind people, and then one day we may have to do something on the group mentality. It's like why would you let someone lead you when you think about what they're saying, okay? And you're saying what they're saying it's almost like wrestlers. They get the microphone and they just start hollering and foaming at the mouth, and everybody in the audience is hollering and going crazy, but they're not really saying anything, man. Right.
Yeah. I do want to touch on something. I'm going to look at some of y'all comments. Man, Harold is blowing something up over here. But I do want to get this out. I think the system has changed how they attack our leadership. You look at what's happened to our leaders. Why would you want to be a leader? You know what I'm saying? Because they assassinate our leaders. They have historically assassinated our leaders. Either character assassination, imprisonment, or some type, and they put them through difficulties. So for you to be a leader, if you look what happened to our leaders, Medgar Evers, he got shot in front of his house, not by the system, but it's the system of racism, because they're allowing these people to do it. And, he got shot with a hunting rifle, blew his damn chest open, and he's still struggling. His wife and daughter kids are in the house. Martin Luther King, you see how he died. Malcolm X, you see how he's died. They wanted to stop these leaders from coming up because the system doesn't want us to have a leader.
Yes, sir.
So what they were doing, they were barbarically killing our leaders. So why would you want to step into that spotlight to be a leader? But then I think they changed. I think because, see, what they did, it was a sociological issue back then, because what they did, they lowered our education. Who's going to come out of the slums? It's drugs infested, all these obstacles, violence, drugs, low education. Who's going to come out and lead? How is a leader going to come out of these circumstances? So these circumstances was there, the gauntlet of issues in front of us, but we still had produced leaders. Huey Newtons and all these people kept coming up. So I think they changed their game. They made it a psychological issue because we kept coming. They used to kill us, but now instead of killing the leaders, they're killing the followers. With the mentality of, we don't need these leaders. We scrutinize them. Oh, this leader is not good for me because he's this. Instead of taking the good from Dr. Umar Johnson, taking the good from Dr. Claude Anderson, taking the good from Dr. Boyce Watkins, or whomever you want to name, taking the good from Farrakhan. Now what we do, we come up and we nitpick and we talk about what they're doing. That's coming from the followers, because you could pick anybody to lead you if you want, but I don't think we really want the leaders.
I don't think so either. But, one day they asked Malcolm X in an interview about, someone was asking him about death, and they were going on to talk about freedom and all that, and Malcolm just looked at him and he said, the cost of freedom is death. In other words, he knew that death was inevitable. All of us are going to die. We go to these places and sing songs all the time about when we die, where we're going to go. Then we go to other places and we talk about what's going to happen after we leave this place. But yet when we are in this belly of the beast, we're afraid, Kev. We're afraid, man.
And that's fraudulent right there. To me, I'm gonna say that I don't want to piss, but to me, I don't want to piss anybody off. But I'm saying, sit back, because I said this to somebody. If if this is what your beliefs are, we are going to die whether we believe we're going to die or not. If you believe you got a place that you're going to go when you die, then why are you scared to go there? Why are you scared to make a sacrifice? And why are you standing down when death is confronted to you? Because death is your lottery ticket to go to a better place. So why would you be fearful that, because this is what the oppressors hold against us. They make us do a whole lot of things over death. The slaves, they kept doing what they were doing because they killed this slave, or they killed somebody's career. You're scared of not having money because they did this to Kaepernick, so now all these other players don't want to step up. They're making examples out of you. But if I'm saying, if you are going to a better place and you believe that wholeheartedly, unless you're doing something in the dark, and you live in a lie, but if you believe that, then what are you scared of?
But Kevin, I'm telling you now, they don't believe that. That's just a front. It's like your mantra. It's something that you say, but you really don't believe it, because when time comes, it's evident. I mean, I can go example after example. When a person, whether they're a leader or not, when they're on their deathbed, a lot of times they say, pray for that person, or they say, try to bring them back. Okay, but if they're going to leave this place, why do you want them to come back? You don't want them to leave. They don't want to leave. They get depressed when they say you got cancer. So we get angry. We get sad. This is where you're in fourth stage. So now we're angry. We close the curtains. We don't want to talk to anybody. We don't want to be bothered. We don't want people to see us like this. But we know all this is a part of life. So we don't believe that. And then secondly, the places that they say they're going, if they're living up to the standards, as you mentioned, they know they're not living up to the standards. So they're afraid. They don't want to face what they said they're going to face, doubts, man. And this is leadership, and this is the herd, whomever. So it goes back to when we talk about being leaders or people out front, people guiding people, we have to look at the commitment that it causes, man. It causes a sacrifice, and sometimes we don't really like to talk about what is it going to cost us. A lot of people have seen this broadcast, and we're nowhere near any of these social leaders that we talked about, that we give examples of. But a lot of people have seen this broadcast. Even one time, do you remember the gentleman that emailed us a nasty email? He misunderstood one of the broadcasts, and he berated us. But did we call each other? Well, Kev, I'm not going to do this again next week. But y'all, let's close up shop. I mean,
he didn't misunderstand.
I know
he knew what he was saying, and what that was a white person sitting up there talking about, y'all talk about racism, but y'all are racist. If you sit up and talk about race, that means you're a racist. And man, I'm glad I responded, and he hasn't responded back, because it was eloquent. It wasn't like, oh, you don't. It's like, well, I'm giving you definitions of stuff, because it's not just, you talking about something and you don't really understand what you're talking about. We're not talking, when we're talking about racism, we're talking about the system of racism. We're not talking about bigotry or prejudice.
Right.
So, and people don't misunderstand. They don't want to understand what's happening.
And when you talk about leadership, you have to look at, too. Now, we may say, these people don't have power, but I say they do have power. Now, I know when we say power, those who make laws, those who enforce laws, those who are in the banking industry, those who are in the medical field, okay, the people that make decisions. But when I say those people that have power, that are in leadership positions, the power I'm talking about is persuasive power.
Yeah.
This is the power that they have with their tongues, that they can say something and these people will believe them. Whereas if you or I say something, they're not going to listen to us, because we're one. We're
influence. The influence that you have on people. And see, sometimes people got to want to be influenced. Because if you talk about, like I say, you talk about doing something and people like, oh man, y'all going to do what, man? Ain't it going to be hot? I don't think people was doing that in the Selma marches. Like, wait, Martin, how hot is it going to be? This is because they had conviction.
Yeah, we want to be comfortable, though.
Yeah, see, I think that's how the system has lulled us to sleep. That's what I'm saying. So we don't have that commitment and conviction like we used to. And I think that's what the system, they used to target our leaders. Now they targeting us to not want to follow leaders and think that we could be independent. Now, when I'm going to say this.
Okay.
When you talk about fire, you have three elements for a fire to burn.
Okay.
You have to have fuel, you have to have heat, and you have to have oxygen. It's a triangle. If anybody sees something flammable, it's a triangle. You have to have fuel, something that's going to keep the fire burning. It has to burn on something. You have to have oxygen, and you have to have heat, something to spark that fire. And when you want to put a fire out, they know how to put a fire out, because you take away any of those things, the fire is going to go out. Okay. You take away oxygen, you cover it up, it's going to go out. You take away the heat, it's going to go out. You take away what is burning, it don't have anything else to burn, it's going to go out. The same thing they did with leadership. What you need to be a leader, you need followers. They're taking away the main thing. They're taking the followers out of the picture, because now we see somebody that want to be a leader, and then we attack them on what they don't do, and I heard he did this, or he didn't open the school or whatever. Okay, That don't have anything. You didn't donate. What is he talking about? Let's talk about the leadership of where he's trying to lead us to. If you're going to follow it, if not, follow somebody, because we all should be following someone or either leading someone. Nobody should be here just twiddling their thumb.
Right.
Somebody should either be leading or following or get the hell out the way and shut the hell up.
Exactly. And those who are so-called in a leadership position, we got to stop being so territorial. In other words, we got to stop not wanting to work with people that look like us who are being oppressed. And I think one day you mentioned it, or we talked about Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, how he and Martin Luther King didn't understand this whole young movement that he was coming up, but they sat down and they talked. But he never got out in public and berated Martin Luther King. But he may not have agreed with that, but he wanted to sit down and listen to him. I think even when it comes to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Martin Luther King, having a meeting saying, okay, let's sit down and talk. Regardless of what they talked about, they got a chance to sit down. Nowadays, we say, well, like Michael Jackson and Prince, even though this is off the subject, but this is the illustration I want to use. I heard they couldn't stand each other for a minute there. They didn't want to be. They didn't want to be around. If Prince was there, Michael Jackson didn't want to even go in that vicinity, or vice versa. Right. It's like we got to be able to say, you know what? I can't be territorial. If someone says, hey, can I come on you guys' broadcast? I want to talk about whatever, and it's for the people. We can't say, well, no, man, we can't let this person come on here because this is our territory. Who they think they are,
or this person believes in this, and I don't want him to come on. Because the great thing, that powerful picture between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, even though they never really had a good conversation. That's a powerful picture for us to see.
Yeah,
that's influential. The discussion between Elijah Muhammad and Martin Luther King, whatever they talked about, however long that was, that's still a powerful thing. That had the system worried. The oppressors was worried about that. What did you say? What did he say? Well, we ain't got anything to talk about like that. And so that's what I'm saying. We got to look past our egos and things like that. Anybody want to come on here, we open arms, And I know Jah be kind of hard on people, but I'm gonna try to be the comforter. I'm gonna try to be the mediator. So if you want to come on, just let us know. Hey, we could talk. If you want to call, and you want to read some more of these comments. I know, like I said, Harold Bourne said, let's talk about land.
He says let's talk about land. For sure, that's the foundation, because everyone that's got something today, they understand the importance of land.
That's power.
And what it's all about, right? Because it definitely associates with power. And then we got, Harold says the NAACP is useless. The Urban League is useless. Then he's going on to say that they haven't done as much as they could today because, what's going on with them. All of them are probably trying to get their pockets padded, or they're trying to be safe, because if they were real, they would really be telling the truth. Harold comes back and says they have good conventions. He says, give us scholarship, eat and go home. That's what they do. And then
but I'm saying if they doing that, then who am I to knock with that? If we getting a scholarship out of it, I'm not going to tear down whatever. I mean, because I'm going to say this about the NAACP convention that I went to. They had a good convention. They had some good speakers. They had sisters from Brooklyn. They younger. And they was young like younger than me, like some of y'all ages. And I'm like, damn, I didn't know. And they was talking about some important stuff.
Okay.
And so I'm saying I'm not going to knock what they doing, because I'm too busy trying to do what I'm doing. And if they can help and they help. He says, what's the vision? And that's important. If you're going to talk to me, or you call yourself a leader, or I'm going to follow you, or we just kicking it, I'm going to ask you, okay, well, what is this all about? I may not say what's the vision, but what are we doing? Because you can't just be blinded following people just because you like their personality. And that's what we do a lot of times. A lot of these entertainers and these celebrities and these ministers and these people in leadership positions, people get used to their personality, and then when the next person comes, because their personality is not the same, we don't like them because they're not doing what they don't sound like that person. So it's like, this is how sick we have become, many of us. But he's right. What's the vision? That's something for the followers to look at.
Exactly.
Because the leader's going to be who they are.
Yeah. And
you got to pick out and say who do I want to follow. Either you follow somebody, support them. I don't care however you want to put it. Support what they're doing. I know the brother says, say Cam. I mean, that's support them. Support people that's doing something, or follow somebody that's doing something. Do something. That's all I'm saying. Right. I appreciate all those comments. You could go. You want to keep going?
Yeah, and he says the NAACP ain't helping us getting gas stations. Malcolm X had a 10-point plan. I guess that was the Nation of Islam. Then Vincent, Brother Webb, he says something that's got to go down a little bit more. He says that's why we stay in youth lives, to get their input, right? Then Harold comes back and says, they've been told not to help. They scared. We talked about that. Kevin Samuels.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna get on that. Go ahead. You say he
Kevin
didn't lie
Samuels
about
didn't
everything.
lie about everything, bro.
Okay, I'm gonna say this about Kevin Samuels. That's you threw me an underhanded pitch, and I'm gonna hit this.
Okay.
Nothing comes out of putting each other down.
Talk, yeah.
To make money.
Cook, man, cook.
You know, I'm gonna tell you what he may not have lied about everything. I'm gonna say another, Charleston White. He may not lie about a lot of things, but to me, you sitting up there wearing a Confederate flag and all that stuff like that, you're seeking attention. And some of the things he says is, if you're sitting up there just talking about putting black people down, when I hear Kevin Samuels, when I heard Kevin Samuels say certain things, it was like, brother, how is that helping us? You sitting up there telling black women that their degrees are useless. You're sitting up there, and that's your whole agenda, is attacking black women. That's just like if you was physically attacking black women. I don't care. To me, you have no use. As far as I'm concerned, what's the vision? That's what I'm asking. What's the vision? You want black women to stop being successful? You want them to stop opening businesses? You put down a black woman for having the same type of degree that you have. He had the same type of degree, and talking about those type of degrees is nothing.
We should be able to parse, as you're doing now. We should be able to parse what people are, even with you and I. People should be able to parse the stuff that needs to be put in the heart, and then leave the other stuff alone. Right. And we just can't just shoot in the dark and hope for the best, because we all say things that are true, but what are we really talking about? And putting
what's the vision? What is the vision?
Yeah, putting African American women down because of whatever, that's not good. That's never been good, and it never will be good in my book. So, that's something that we got to look at, and we might have to do something on it.
And I'm saying, like, I don't care. Like I say, I understand that people may like what he's saying. Yeah. But to me, what place is that when we're talking about our people in our community making strides? Because you're tearing somebody down that's not even the conversation I want to have with another brother. I don't care. It's plenty of black women that's done so much.
And I'm going to say something, Kevin. People may not want to hear this, but a lot of that was manipulative.
Yeah, he
just
got
want
paid.
to control people, man.
He got paid off of that, because a lot of people was, oh man, you heard, and they were sending me. I said, bro, it's nothing. I look at the video and say, so what now? Yeah. This man, the other dude, I forgot his name, Thomas or Thompson. He was talking about black men cheating on women. Okay, so what? Yes. Like what? So you don't buy her kids, her other kids' food. You want to buy? So what? That's soap opera stuff. That's soap opera stuff, and we got work to do. You'll never hear Malcolm talking like that. You'll never hear Martin talking about that. You'll never hear Stokely. You'll never hear Angela or Asada. You'll never hear anybody that has a pertinent goal talk about tearing each other down, even though there's a lot of things to tear each other down about. Well, you want to keep going?
Yeah, he says people act like they can move something, but they can't because territory inclined. Then he says they run to the city hall and get told to shut up. And then they do, I guess, nothing. Then he says, what's religion got to do with it? It's about helping set up self-independence. Rhetorical, that's good. He says, help us set up a gas station.
No, so I'm going to say this. Okay. What's stopping us? See, this is, okay, and I appreciate everything you're saying, Harold. So, and these are good talking points. Okay. So when we see somebody that opens up a gas station, do we go out and support it? It's just like you say, people sit up and complain about the school system. But when this brother opened up a own school and a private school on your own for black, with a pro-black and Afrocentric curriculum, how much, you don't have to do that too. I don't have to do that too. But if I see you doing it, why I'm not supporting you? We have to be independent of the system, because the system is against us. So when I see a brother open up a gas station, why would I run to Shell or Valero? Because, they got better coffee, or they got this at this price. If you see somebody opening up a chicken place, Chapman's on the east side, South WW White. Oh, I'm going to Bill Miller's because I could get three pieces of chicken for $1 cheaper than he. Then don't tell me about what we not doing or what somebody's not doing for us, because we got to start getting out there doing for ourselves.
And you're absolutely correct, but you have to also understand with us, many of us, we sit back, man, and we watch everything that go on, and we're not going to do anything. We're just going to watch and critique. We're good critiquers. So when you say, well, Jah, what you think about this? Oh, Kev, this ain't about right because of that. Oh, Jah, what you think about that? Well, they could have done it like this. Well, Jah, what you think about this? Well, if I were them, see, this is how many of us are, but we don't see that because we're too busy doing it all the time. Right. And if we stop and reflect and say, hey, hold on for a second. I may not be the best person. I'm still working on things internally, but I see some good in what these people are trying to do for my people. If it's in there. If it's not in there, just leave it alone. Or you do it. You do it.
As far as like other people coming in our neighborhood, open up things, we know the government allows them to do that. So what's stopping us from not going?
Right.
You know, I'm not going to support this. I'm not going to support that. Now, if when I go into these other people's stores, they could be good. You opening a store in our neighborhood, but I want to see some of us working in your store. If I go into a Mexican restaurant on the east side and I don't see any of us in there, if I go to an Asian restaurant on the east side and I don't see any of us in there, then I put you in a category. You're taken out of our community. You don't live in our community, you're taken out. But why do we have to support that? So what are we doing? We know it's a black place open. Do we go out and support them and say, I don't care if you do it once a week or once or twice a month or whatever, and say, I'm going to support black business. I used to take money and put it to the side just for black businesses. I don't care whether it's a hair salon and I don't have any hair. I don't care what it is. I'm gonna go support it, and I'm gonna give to donate to this, donate to that, or I'm gonna give things to them or whatever because it's black, because I want it to grow and I want people to understand that that's what I'm there for.
See, Kev, and this is good because you're talking about leadership, the blind, and all of that, and we're dealing with that. But we have to also look at this, which I agree with everything you're saying. We have to look at how many of us are. We let our emotion, it outweighs our logic, our rationality. Now, see, what you're doing now, you're just kind of rationalizing and saying, okay, and these are powerful points that we're making. But a lot of us, we're emotional. We think with our emotions, you know. So when we go to a black business, if they don't do something that they should do, then emotionally, I'm not going back there, you know. So I'm not gonna. Then we'll go around talking about all the African American businesses. See, so now we've fanned this fire when it's not just go back. You go back to every other place when you spend your money, and you never. I almost said the B word, but you never say anything about that. So this goes back to our mindset, and many of these so-called leaders today, this is why we're blinded, because how can you be a leader and how can I be a leader and we don't address the issues that affect us on a day-to-day basis? Now, we do have time to talk sports, we got time to talk music every blue moon, but for the most part, if you're going to be teaching people or guiding people or directing people, that has to be in our vocabulary somewhere down the line. We just can't be playing games, and a lot of us are playing games, man.
Yeah, and like I said, when I went to the Justice or Else, Farrakhan gave a powerful speech. And he talked about when he said this or else, it was about boycotting and not doing some of the things, letting them know that we're unified and we're together. We always talk about unity and stuff. And a lot of people said, nah, man, I can't do that. And all he said was just watch your spending.
Right.
Stop spending all this Christmas, Black Friday stuff. Hit them in the pockets and let them know you're serious. Now, if you want to talk about opening gas stations and stores, Dr. Claude Anderson has a book about power economics, about us changing our spending habits and how we can get things. Dr. Boyce Watkins always talk about investments. That's all he talk about, the stocks and good things to get in. But he's talking about investing in anything.
Right.
But I'm saying, but then you put money in your pockets to do something. Then you could go buy a gas station and you could get with some brothers about opening a gas station. Say, brother, I think we need this, and talk to your congressman, whatever, in your district about why we don't have some of these gas stations opening. But we're watching other people. Valero is not Asian. You know, Shell was not Asian. But everybody pulling their vehicles up in there. Go to the one that's in your community that's a private gas station. Even though he may not look like you, but you're investing in these corporations, these mega corporations that's not doing anything for your community.
That's right.
But at least if these other people are in your community, maybe you can understand or learn the workings and invest in something. You might not have the money yourself, but if 20 of us could have the money, you know, or somebody could open something up and then we can just give them strength by putting our money. Our money is strength.
Right. And we got to quit letting propaganda shape our opinions, because propaganda has been with us since the beginning of time. But the point that I'm trying to make with leadership is we can't allow what other people say about us as a people to dictate to us how we act. Like you mentioned, how we spend. You know, if you have a store and your bread is a little bit more than another store and you in the community, and I see that I need it, I know I'm going to spend more. You can't go out and buy what other people can. I have to understand that. I can't just say, well, I'm not going to Kev's store anymore because, you know, as a leader, you know, he's just trying to rip us off. No, you're not trying to rip us off. You can't afford to get these mega 18-wheeler trucks come in and sell your bread cheaper, but because you're doing for the community, I'm going to pay another $1 and 10, 15 cents.
You're investing in it.
Exactly, because I understand, and I'm not going to go around and talk about your prices just because I know that your prices are. You don't have the means to do what these other people do. But the main thing is, at least you're supporting your community. That's what supersedes everything. But because your prices are not as low as Walmart and all these other places, well, you know, that guy's his groceries are a little bit high. I'm not gonna go there. And so it's like, as a leader, man, why would we even say the things that I'm saying now about other people? And I've heard that said, but that goes back to what kind of leader do we have? Some of these leaders, not all of them.
I heard that said about Vincent Webb's dad. You know, when I came to San Antonio, he had a store on the east side. And people was like, yeah, but I can't. That's fine. If you can't afford it, just fine. Then don't afford it. Because I understand some people are struggling. But I'm saying some people, they're pinching pennies. Some people have their lights out and stuff. And you can't afford to buy all your groceries and be missing money, because then you missing meals. I understand that. But a lot of us is not doing that.
Right.
So some of us could afford it. And I'm saying, if you support these places, then what's going to happen? They're going to become bigger, and then they could buy in more bulk, and then the prices are going to go down. Now, if they're not letting their price go down and they're just raking in the money, then you need to, you know, deviate and go to somebody else and help them build up. Now, if you're building up your business, you getting all this business, and we supporting you, and you trying to build a bigger patio and all this stuff like this to have entertainment and stuff, and then it's like, okay, what a division. Division means I can see. I can see what's happening. You're not doing anything with the money that we're putting into you. Then I need to do something different.
I'm glad you said that, because I was just getting ready to go there. Because back in the day, what they would do is, when you opened the store and I supported you, after 6 months to a year, you were doing well. Then we came to you and we sat you down, because we know you. We said, Brother Kevin, we're getting ready to start a school, or we're going to open a school. We're going to need your support. And before we get these words out of our mouths, because we support you, you're going to be like, yes, I'm going to invest in that school, so that this school can be in our community, teaching our children what they need to be taught. But nowadays, we invest in other people. How dare we go to another person, especially a European, and ask these CEOs at Walmart and HEB and all these places to invest in our community? You know, other than getting grants. But no, they're not going to do it. They're going to tell you to get out of their face, and we're going to run like the brother said. We're going to run. But see, with us, we have that camaraderie. See, I support you. I go to Chapman's. I go to other places. I can go in there when I need things done in the community. I can at least approach them, at least. See, and that's how it's supposed to be.
Something happened like that. I mean, I went to one of these beauty supply stores, and I mean, this is the most viral post I ever put up. I mean, I had thousands of viewers and shares and all that. The owner of the store called me and asked me. He talked to me from California.
Wow.
He said, hey, man, I'm sorry this incident happened. All it was is I just asked him, could I put my flyer up? A black unity, having an event. We're having a barbecue. Stop the violence. The guy at the store told me, nah, you can't hang that up in here. So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I'm looking at the thing where they posting people coming there and this concert stuff, some chick in a bikini up against a car and all this. I'm like, okay, so you could post all of this stuff, but I say, no, this is not about, I say, this is us stopping the violence. I just want to, put it out. He's like, no, we don't. He saw the red, black, and green on. He said, we don't support that. So I put up a post. And I told him up, like, hey, they in our community taking money out. The only black person they had in there, he was half black, and he was like there, like basically like security, the buffer between them. I said, if they don't care about our movements and the things we doing, then why are we spending our money? And it kept going and going, and people was like, hey, I got friends request. Then the guy called me, he said, hey, man, the owner of the business want to talk to you. He wants you to take that post down. I'm like, nah, because I'm talking about what happened. So then he said, well, at least talk to him. Right. And the guy offered me, you could go there and get all this stuff free if you want. I said, bro, I ain't got no hair. He was like, well, you could get anything for anybody. I said, no. I said, I'm not doing it for that. I said, because he said, well, you could come put it up and I'll take a picture of you putting it up. And he said, post. I said, I'll post that and say that we reconcile, but I'm not going to take down what I posted because that actually happened. And that's how and I'm saying, so if you worried about gas stations, you worried about food places in our community, go to them and say, hey, this is what we got going on. You're in our community. You're taking our dollars. That's right. Can you support something that we're doing? If they say no, put that out there and say they're not part of our community. They're in our community, but they're not part of our community. True. They're not supporting our community.
And we don't want to leave our sisters out, because Sister Sharon, she's commented, when I tell someone I look for black doctors and they ask why not? Just the best. My response is, why the black doctors, they can see more.
Yeah, it's not letting me see more. Hold on, let me try. I'm trying. There you go.
Yeah, they can't be the best. they still assume white has to be better. She's right. And then Sister Lede, she says, I remember the beauty supply incident. So she's...
I didn't say their name, though.
Yeah. But she didn't say their name either. She just says
the beauty supply.
We can narrow it down, though. There's a lot of beauty supply places.
Okay.
But, you have been watching the Jah Kev Show. It is what it is. This is who we are. This is how we do it. He brings his personality. He brings his attitude. He brings everything with him, and so do I. And this is why I know this is a broadcast that's powerful, and that if you listen to us on every other week basis, you're going to find out that we're honest, we're sincere, and we love our people, and we're always teaching something that you can take nuggets from to apply that's practical and pragmatic. So we're just not complaining all the time. So, Kev, if you have anything else to say?
Yeah, I'm going to say this, man. When you don't have leaders, there's a ramification of that. So we have to either try to have people, breed leaders, or we have to either become leaders. Nothing's stopping anyone that commented on this from being some type of leader or finding someone that has their interest in mind. When you don't have leaders, then what happens? You become nomads as a people. We have everybody in the black community doing this and that and the other, and none of us doing things together to make it a more powerful thing. It's no dogma. But when you don't have leadership, then there's no rules or guidelines. We talked about Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam or Malcolm X. This is what we're doing if we're following this person. Not that you got to be part of my organization, but brother brought up a 10-point program. This is the Black Panther Party have one too, but that's part of being in their organization. You don't have to. You could support them. You could follow them, or you could follow their leadership of what they're doing. Following somebody's leadership may say, you know what, this brother opened up a school. I want to do that too. And maybe I should ask him, how did he do it? Or maybe I may do it a different way or something like that. That's lead. I'm following your lead. So that's what I'm saying. Without leadership, we have social anarchy in our community. This is part of the problems that's plaguing our community, because we can't get together to stop the violence. We can't get together to stop the drugs. We can't get together and stop teen pregnancies. We can't get together and educate our kids properly. So we complain about it, but we're not doing we're not doing enough about it.
Right. Well, you've heard it there from Brother Kev. That was the last words you're going to hear, other than me saying thank you for tuning in to the Jah Kev Show. Give us a week off. We're going to come back with another subject. Well, as he always say, we're going to make it a better broadcast. Thank you once again. Hotep. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody.